So, um, I grew up um, in a small town called Merrill, Wisconsin. Um, which is it's about 3 hour drive um, north of Milwaukee. Um, I let's see, my early childhood. Um, I grew up hard of hearing in a hearing family. I was the only individual in my family that was deaf or hard of hearing. Um, I remember I was born with a lot of medical issues, such as um, I was born and I had a stroke at birth. I have a VP shunt, which is a thing that starts at the head and drains excess fluid from my head all the way down to my stomach. Um, that's a little bit about me, about my medical history. My 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 journey as a hard of hearing individual into my deafness, being a deaf individual. Started about I want to say about 3 years old. I became hard of hearing because of that stroke. But I remember at 3 years old, I started to really, my parents and my family members started to realize he's got a hearing loss. He can't hear anything. I would be turning up the volume on the TV to watch the Packers. I would turn up the volume on the radio to listen to any type of music, and it would be so loud for my parents and my sister. My Also, I would miss conversations of what they were saying because all I was just saying is what, which is a little embarrassing, but it's also frustrating to my family. I As I got over for like going into middle school, I began wearing hearing aids. Not this small, but they were big. And I remember even before that, I was using FM systems, and they really just didn't work. I can tell you that. So I got my first set of hearing aids when I was in 7th grade. And the thing that was really, really difficult for me is having to replace the molds on them I want to say every year, because my ears would keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In high school, I remember, and I'll get to my sign language in a little bit, but I remember always sitting up at the front, always wearing my hearing aids. So that was good communication, but I just didn't seem to fit right. I was myself at Merrill. Don't get me wrong. But as a hard of hearing individual, I just didn't feel like I was really doing anything like that. I was missing something. And it didn't, and I graduated in 2011. And then I went to UW Marathon County, which is now UW Stevens Point at Lhasa, which is about 20 minutes away from my hometown, still up in the northern part. Went there for 3 years, and then finally transferring to UW Milwaukee in 2015, where I call home. I started as an basically as a film major, and then and my accommodations. I'll get to my accommodations in a little bit, but my accommodations. And then I transferred into the ASL department, and that's when I first got the understanding of deaf and hard of hearing, and I took that culture class. I took deaf history, ASL 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Tried 5, and so that's where I am with my language. I'm still picking up language, and you have to remember, when I grew up, I had zero sign language whatsoever. Because they were always giving me speech therapy, you name it, but zero sign language. So imagine being in my shoes, growing up without that communication. And I think it's important that what my journey is. Now, I started learning sign language, started learning my language, and starting being interactive with other deaf members. I'm still not quite there yet, and time just doesn't always work for me. But when I always do, I'm always trying to stay active, always trying to be an advocate for them, and I'll get that to in a minute. But for my accommodations, I first started off in high school, always sitting up in the front seat. There was no accommodation for interpreters, captioning, nothing like that. At UW Marathon County, still the same thing. Sit up in the front seat. It was when I came to UW Milwaukee. They wanted my audiogram, which is a hearing test, really. And they said, we can give you caption. I'm like, what's that? And basically, they would show me, and I absolutely fell in love with it. But I wanted to take sign language, and I really, really wanted to learn my language. And I started taking ASL 1 in 2016 with Joel. And I'll get to who helped me and who I want to thank in a little bit. But as I continued to progress, and I remember always being frustrated, and I have it ASL 2, ASL 3, and finally ASL 4 came around, and I started getting involved in the culture, starting getting involved in, see what I'm assigning and doing deaf panels, and I found myself stuck with a class in ASL 4, and it became so frustrating because I wanted to learn ASL, but I wasn't so. It just doesn't. When I started taking ASL, because I passed ASL 4, when I started taking ASL 5, that became me more advanced. And even though I knew my deaf culture, my deaf rules, autism, it just didn't feel right. I mean, I was active in the community, but it just and that was sort of my problem. And one thing that I learned about my journey, my hard of hearing journey, and now my deaf journey, and my deafness, is that you're not going to gain deafness by just taking an ASL class and passing. There's more to that. So I encourage people who are taking ASL classes, who are learning the language for the first time, is you gotta do more than just take a class and be interactive with the community, but you have to do more than that. More than that. And I cannot tell you how much time I practiced my signing in the ASL app. And it's at UWM. It's just, and it became so frustrating. And I was stressed out. I was, everything. I wanted to be fluent, but I didn't want, and at that time I was in a major for ASL, and I said to Marika, I told her, I don't want to teach ASL. I want the background ASL so they can so students can be like, oh, he's got a background ASL. Now I want to give the open door to people who are hard of hearing and deaf that were on my caseload in the future. That was the purpose. And the major got so frustrated with everything, and I'm graduating in 2019, but the major got so frustrated I just wanted to drop the class. I wanted to drop the minor and everything, and just take a break. And sometimes you need that, but I will always stay interactive with the deaf community, and with this weekend, this month being Deaf Awareness Week and Deaf Awareness Month around Wisconsin, I always want to be interactive, and I think I have a couple of people to thank, and it's not just I love being who I am. I love identifying myself as a deaf individual who grew up with no sign language and actually is really, really decent with the sign language, can communicate. Yeah, I do have some problems with my signing, but I know a deaf culture, I know deaf history, and I can interact with other deaf individuals pretty good. I'm glad I have that background. But I have to thank a couple of people that just the bottom of my heart. First off is my first ASL tutor, and he is an incredible guy at UWM. He's an ASL instructor now. His name is Ryan Ryne. Without him teaching me the basics of ASL 1 and 2, I would not be where I am today. And that goes for CJ, Aaron, Joel, Ashley, all of them. But Ryan's the one that really got me going, and I cannot thank him enough. And even Caitlin, who helped me with ASL 3 and 4. But Ryan really, I cannot thank him enough for helping me start basically teaching me ASL 1 through 2. I love him. I don't think the ASL studies department and the deaf community at UWM and for students who are taking ASL classes understand how great of a teacher he is, because he is. It's just, he's amazing. But I think the thing that I really want for my future is that what I want my story to be about to others is that it's okay, for me, it's okay being hard of hearing and having that speaking ability, but always having that language in the background. I'm an advocate for the deaf community, the deaf and hard of hearing community. I will advocate for them, no matter what it is. You name it. If it's CC cap, if it's for closed captioning, better closed captioning on YouTube, or if it's more deaf characters on TV, I'm going to do it in my future because that's what I am. I want equal rights for deaf individuals. That's what I believe in, and I'm so passionate for that. And and um you know and that could not be done without being at a great university and a great program like the ASL Studies program and the ITP program, which is the Interpreting Training Program. They have been a blessing to me, and yes, I love it. And so yeah, thank you.